Hello, my name is Miranda Rink. I'm doing a close reading of Woman at Point Zero by Nawal El Saadawi. This is a book about a woman who is sentenced to death and is in her final moments sharing the story of her life, how she was systematically abused and taken advantage of throughout her entire life, and how that led to her decision to kill the man who she was now going to be killed for killing. Super interesting book, highly recommend it. We're doing a close reading of a section of the book. This is on page 120, and it says, "I became aware of the fact that I hated men, but for long years had hidden this secret carefully." I wanted to bring us to this sentence to examine this idea of Woman at Point Zero being a feminist text. Feminism is looked at as the search for equality between men and women, politically and socially and sexually and all of that. And so this text could be examined as like a woman looking for this freedom, looking for this equality. This sentence clearly points out that there is active hostility towards men. This would be misandry feminism. This is a hate for men. This is contempt for men. It's important to place this sentence in the context of the story and not just pull it out cold. Pulling it out cold would just make it misandry, just make it prejudice against men. But at this point in the story, she has really no choice but to hate men. Every man that she has come in contact with has used and abused her, has raped and manipulated and won her trust and broken her trust and harmed her. She has no reason to feel anything but contempt for men. Modern day feminism is commonly condemned for being male-hating and noisy and unfair and all of that. This story is so different from that narrative. That's not what's happening here. It is clear as you walk through the story that she has no reason to feel anything but contempt for men. However, every single man that I did get to know filled me with but one desire: to lift my hand and bring it smashing down on his face. For her entire life, her power was stripped away, her freedom was stripped away, her trust was broken, her body was harmed, all by these men. And so the fact that her story ends where she kills a pimp, where she finally brings that hand up and brings it down, it's almost triumphant, because we've watched her just be broken over and over again and used over and over again, and we've watched the internal struggle of that and what that's done to her character and her heart. And at the end, you're kind of like, good, like, yes. But is that translating into the way we're viewing men now? Are we rooting for the destruction of men? Or are we pushing for equality with men? And this question can seem so flatline, and again, this is where a lot of people who are against feminism have a leg up. The question is not simply, do we root for the destruction of men, or are we pushing for equality? It goes so much deeper than that when you look at people's individual experiences, and that gets so complicated and so complex, because one person, like a person who's never experienced trauma, can genuinely just push for equality. And then there's people who have been used and raped and marginalized by men who have more fire behind what they're pushing for. That creates a whole span of responses to that word feminism, what it means to be a feminist. While some people may not see rooting for women as mutually exclusive with men, like rooting for men, some people do. And some people have earned that. So it gets real sticky. It's important to then look at our own understandings and biases and positions on that, because these things are implicit. As she says, she hated men, but for long years had hidden that secret carefully. These things these are implicit understandings about the world. There are so many things that we understand about the world that are implicit and don't always have language put to them. But as we're engaging with this idea of feminism, as we're living in a world as women, we have to know what we think about this. We have to engage with it. Well, she knew what she thought. She hated men. I don't hate men, but I have friends who do hate men. It all comes back to your experiences. She examined her biases and she knew where she stood. And that is so important for us to do as well. That carries over. That is important. Regardless of where you fall on that spectrum, due to your own experiences, due to what's happened to you, due to what you grew up around, it is so important to know and to decide. Are we victim to our experiences in the way that we think and behave, or do we triumph over them? Thank you.